Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the dimly lit bar, a solitary cocktail glass shimmered, attracting Margot's gaze. She sat, fingers gently caressing the glass rim, her scarlet nails glowing in the subdued lighting. The lively ambiance of the Friday night filled the air, a symphony of laughter, clinks, and conversations blended with the rhythmic beats from the speakers. Nervously, Margot's heart raced. This, her first outing as herself, felt daunting yet thrilling. Her wig, a cascading auburn masterpiece, framed her meticulously painted face, while the form-fitting cocktail dress accentuated her figure perfectly. The stilettos, long practiced in secrecy, added to her newfound confidence. Matthias would return to his empty apartment, draw the blinds, and transform into Margot, the woman who existed only within those four walls. Tonight marked a revolution, a quiet rebellion against those self-imposed boundaries. The bartender slid another cosmopolitan toward her. "Compliments of the gentleman at the end of the bar." Margot's gaze drifted down the counter, her practiced feminine smile freezing on her lips. The blood drained from her face, leaving even her rouge-brushed cheeks pale. Ryan, college roommate, best friend for 4 years. The person who knew Matthias better than anyone else. The person who was now staring directly at her with unmistakable recognition in his eyes. Margot's instinct screamed for flight. The exit was 20 feet away. Maybe in the stilettos she could make it in 10 seconds. But Ryan was already moving, weaving through the Friday night crowd with determined strides. Too late. "I'd know that walk anywhere," Ryan said, sliding onto the stool beside her. 4 years of living together makes some things impossible to forget. The carefully constructed world Margot had built threatened to collapse around her. The glass trembled in her hand, ice cubes clinking a nervous rhythm. "I don't—" she began, her practiced feminine voice catching in her throat. "Matthias." Ryan's voice was low, just between them. "Or do you prefer another name when you're dressed like this?" The question hung in the air between them. In all the scenarios Margot had imagined for this evening, this confrontation had never been among them. Rejection, mockery, disgust, those were the responses she'd prepared for from strangers, not calm recognition from someone who knew the man beneath the makeup. "Margot?" she whispered finally, her red-painted nails tapping nervously against the glass. "I go by Margot." Ryan nodded, his expression unreadable. "Margot, it suits you." He motioned to the bartender. "Another cosmopolitan for the lady, and a bourbon for me." The minutes stretched into an eternity as they sat in silence, the bartender placing fresh drinks before them. Margot stared into the pink depths of her cosmopolitan, seeing her distorted reflection in the liquid. "How long have you known?" she finally asked. Ryan took a sip of his bourbon. "Known? I didn't know until I saw you tonight." "Suspected? Since our junior year when I found that long brown hair on the bathroom floor. At first I thought you might have had a girl over, but it kept happening even when you hadn't had any visitors." Margot's chest tightened. "You never said anything." "Neither did you." The music changed, something slow and bluesy filling the space between conversations. "I always figured you'd tell me when you were ready." Ryan turned his glass in a slow circle. "Though I'll admit, I didn't expect to find out like this." Margot took a long drink, letting the alcohol burn away some of the tension. "I never planned to tell anyone. This was supposed to be just for me." "And yet here you are, in public." first time. The words came out softer than intended. Ryan studied her for a long moment. You look good, by the way. The dress is a nice choice. Bold. A surprised laugh escaped her. That's what you have to say? Nice dress? Would you prefer I freak out? Make a scene? He leaned closer. You're my friend. That hasn't changed in the past 5 minutes. Something warm unfolded in Margot's chest, pushing against the fear that had resided there for years. Most people wouldn't react this way. I'm not most people, and neither are you, evidently. He raised his glass in a small toast. To unexpected reunions. Margot clinked her glass against his, a genuine smile replacing her nervous one. To unexpected acceptance. They fell into conversation that flowed as easily as it had during their college days. Ryan asked questions. When did she start? Why Margot? Did anyone else know? But never with judgment, only curiosity. The wig is good, but it's not what gives you away, he said, after his second bourbon. Margot raised an eyebrow. What does? Your mannerisms are perfect. The way you hold your glass, cross your legs, even laugh. But you walk exactly like you always have. Same rhythm, same pace. Self-consciousness flooded through her. I've practiced everything else so much. Don't worry about it. No one else would notice. I just spent 4 years watching you pace through our apartment while studying. A comfortable silence settled between them. The bar had grown more crowded, the energy shifting as night deepened. So, what now? Margot finally asked, the question that had been hovering unspoken between them. Ryan considered this. Now, we finish our drinks. Maybe have another. Talk like the old friends we are. He paused. And tomorrow, if Matthias wants to get lunch and catch up, that would be great. Or if Margot prefers coffee somewhere, that works too. The simple acceptance in his words unlocked something in Margot's chest. Years of hiding, of compartmentalizing her life into separate boxes labeled Matthias and Margot. And here was Ryan casually stepping between those worlds as if the divide was meaningless. Perhaps, for true friendship, it was. I'd like that, she said. Though I think tomorrow it'll be Matthias who shows up. Ryan nodded. And next weekend? Who will I see then? The question hung in the air, weighted with possibility. For the first time, Margot considered a future where she didn't have to choose between her worlds, where perhaps they could coexist, with Ryan as a bridge between them. I'm not sure yet, she admitted. I've never had the luxury of planning Margot's appearances more than a few hours in advance. Well, now you do. Ryan raised his glass again. 2 new possibilities. The night stretched on, 1 drink becoming 2, then 3. The initial shock of recognition gave way to the comfortable rhythm of old friendship, punctuated with new revelations. Ryan shared stories from his life since college. A job at a marketing firm, a brief engagement that had fallen apart, his recent decision to move back to the city. The more they talked, the more Margot realized how much she had missed human connection in her feminine persona. Margot had always been isolated, existing in carefully controlled solitude. Having someone see her, truly see her, and respond with acceptance rather than judgment was intoxicating. Last call, the bartender announced, startling them both. Ryan glanced at his watch. I didn't realize it was so late. Margot nodded, suddenly aware of the practical concerns of the evening's end. She had driven here, but after several cosmopolitans, Driving was out of the question. "I should call a ride," she said, reaching for her clutch. "I'm just 2 blocks away," Ryan said. "My sofa is yours if you want. No pressure." The offer hung between them. In their college days, crashing on each other's couches had been commonplace. But this was different. This was Margot being invited into a space where Matthias had once belonged comfortably. "I'd like that," she said finally. "Thank you." Outside, the night air was cool against Margot's bare shoulders. The streets were still alive with weekend revelers, and she felt a momentary surge of panic at being so visible. Ryan seemed to sense her discomfort, positioning himself slightly between her and the passing crowds. "This way," he said, offering his arm in a gesture that managed to be both chivalrous and friendly. Margot accepted, grateful for the steadying presence as they navigated the 2 blocks to Ryan's apartment building. The stilettos, comfortable enough in the bar, had become instruments of torture after hours of wear. Ryan's apartment was on the 4th floor of a renovated industrial building, all exposed brick and high ceilings. He unlocked the door and stepped back, allowing Margot to enter first. "Home sweet home," he said. "Bathroom's through there if you want to wash up. I'll find you something more comfortable to sleep in." Alone in the bathroom, Margot studied her reflection. The makeup had held up well, but exhaustion showed around her eyes. She carefully removed the auburn wig, setting it gently on the counter. Without it, Matthias's short brown hair emerged, creating a strange contrast with the made-up face. The red dress came next, carefully unzipped, and hung on the back of the door. The padding followed, then the stockings. Layer by layer, Margot receded, leaving behind a hybrid creature, Matthias's body with remnants of Margot's presentation. A knock at the door startled her. "I've got a t-shirt and sweatpants." Ryan's voice came through the door. "They'll be big on you, but they'll work for sleeping." Margot cracked the door open, extending one bare arm. Ryan passed the clothes without looking, a courtesy that brought unexpected tears to her eyes. Dressed in the oversized clothes, face scrubbed clean of makeup, Margot, now physically more Matthias but feeling somewhere in between, emerged from the bathroom. Ryan had made up the sofa with sheets and a pillow and was in the kitchen area pouring 2 glasses of water. "Thought you might need this," he said, offering a glass. "Cosmopolitans can be deceptive." "Thanks." The voice that emerged was Matthias's, deeper, less practiced. It created a jarring disconnect that Ryan pretended not to notice. They sat on opposite ends of the sofa, the late hour and the alcohol creating a pocket of intimacy. "Can I ask you something?" Ryan said after a moment. A nod. "Are you transgender, or is this something else for you?" The question was direct but gentle, free of judgment. "I don't know," came the honest answer. "Sometimes I think Margot is as much me as Matthias is. Other times it feels more like an expression of something I can't articulate any other way." Ryan nodded. "That makes sense." "Does it? Because most days it doesn't make sense even to me. Maybe it doesn't need to." Ryan set his water glass down. "Maybe it's enough that it feels right when you're doing it." The simple acceptance in those words opened something in Margot's chest. A door long kept locked, even from herself. "I've never had anyone to talk to about this," she admitted. "It's always been my secret." "Not anymore." Ryan's smile was warm. "Now it's our secret, if you want it to be." Sleep came easily, despite the unfamiliar surroundings. In the morning, Margot awoke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Ryan moving quietly around the kitchen. For a moment, disorientation took hold. Where was the wig, the dress, the persona carefully constructed and maintained? Then memory returned, along with a curious sense of relief. Ryan looked up from the stove where he was scrambling eggs. "Morning! Coffee's ready if you want some." The normalcy of the moment was its own kind of gift. No awkwardness, no rehashing of revelations. Just breakfast between old friends. Over coffee and eggs, they talked about the coming day. Practical concerns took precedence. Getting back to Margot's car, the change of clothes, the return to the rhythms of everyday life. "I have spare clothes you can borrow," Ryan offered. "They'll be big, but they'll work well enough to get you back to your car." "Thank you." The gratitude was for far more than the offer of clothes. Ryan seemed to understand this. That's what friends are for. After breakfast, Ryan produced jeans and a button-down shirt. They were indeed too large, but a belt made the jeans manageable, and the shirt's excessive size could pass for an intentional style choice. The auburn wig and red dress were carefully packed into a duffel bag Ryan provided. "This way, no one will know what you're carrying," he explained. The thoughtfulness of the gesture was overwhelming. All these years of hiding, of careful planning to conceal every trace of Margot, and here was Ryan casually offering practical solutions, as if this were the most natural problem in the world to solve. "I don't know how to thank you," Margot said as they prepared to leave. Ryan paused, his hand on the doorknob. "You don't need to thank me. But if you want to do something, stop keeping Margot locked away. She deserves to exist more than just occasionally." The words stayed with Margot throughout the day, echoing as she retrieved her car, drove home, and restored the elements of her feminine presentation to their hiding places. For years, these rituals had been tinged with shame, necessary concealment of a secret self. Now, for the first time, they felt temporary. Not putting away, but merely setting aside for a moment. The lunch with Ryan the next day, as Matthias, should have been strange. Instead, it was characterized by an ease that had been missing from their friendship in the college years. The pretense was gone, replaced by an honesty that transformed their connection. "I've been thinking about what you said," Matthias said over dessert. "About Margot deserving to exist more." Ryan nodded, waiting. "I think you're right. But I don't know how to make that happen without upending my entire life. Maybe it doesn't have to be all at once," Ryan suggested. "Start small, safe spaces, trusted people. Like you." "Like me," Ryan smiled. "And maybe others, when you're ready." The conversation continued beyond lunch, extending into coffee and then an impromptu walk through the city park. They talked of practical concerns, where Margot might be welcomed, how to navigate public spaces, the challenges of a dual existence. "You know," Ryan said, as they watched children feed ducks at the park pond, "there's a whole community out there of people like you, people figuring out where they fit, how they want to present themselves to the world." Matthias had never considered this. Margot had always been a solitary creation, born of private yearnings and maintained in isolation. "I wouldn't know how to find them," he admitted. "I might." At Matthias's surprised look, Ryan explained, "I dated someone a few years ago who was non-binary. They introduced me to a lot of people in the community." The revelation created a new dimension to Ryan's acceptance, not just tolerance from ignorance, but understanding born of experience.
Would you...
Matthias hesitated.
Would you be willing to introduce me? As Margot, I mean.
Ryan's smile was answer enough. The weeks that followed unfolded with a rhythm previously unknown in Matthias's life. Weekdays belonged to him, the software developer with the tidy apartment and the quiet social life. But weekends increasingly belonged to Margot, who emerged from her confinement with Ryan's steady encouragement. First came coffee shops in neighborhoods where Matthias never went. Margot dressed in subtle feminine attire, a flowy blouse and slim-fitting jeans, the auburn wig styled more casually than her bar appearance. Ryan accompanied her, his presence both shield and bridge to a world that had previously seemed forbidden.
You seem more relaxed each time,
he observed on their third such outing. Margot nodded, looking around the busy coffee shop. No one was paying them any particular attention. I keep waiting for someone to point and laugh or for some confrontation, but it never happens.
Most people are too wrapped up in their own lives to notice others, Ryan said. And the ones who do notice usually don't care enough to say anything.
The fear didn't disappear entirely, but it receded, becoming background noise rather than a roaring presence. And as it diminished, Margot expanded, developing preferences, opinions, a way of moving through the world that was distinctly her own. The auburn wig remained her signature, the rich brown waves becoming as familiar as Matthias's natural hair. But everything else evolved. The cocktail dress and stilettos gave way to more practical, everyday feminine attire. Blouses in jewel tones, jeans that highlighted her curves, comfortable flats for walking city streets. You're developing quite a style, Ryan remarked one day as they browsed a boutique, Margot considering a teal cardigan. She smiled, running her hands over the soft wool. I'm discovering what I actually like, not just what I thought a woman should wear. That distinction, between performance and authentic expression, marked a turning point. Margot was no longer a character Matthias played, but an aspect of himself expressed through her. The boundaries between them became more permeable, less rigidly defined. 1 month after their chance reunion at the bar, Ryan made good on his promise to introduce Margot to others who might understand her journey. The gathering was small, just 6 people in the private room of a restaurant known for its discretion. 2 were friends Ryan had made through his ex, a married couple who hosted dinner parties for people across the gender spectrum. The others were individuals in various stages of their own gender journeys.
Everyone, this is my friend Margot,
Ryan said simply. No explanations were necessary. No justifications required. In that room, Margot was exactly who she presented herself to be, her history relevant only if she chose to share it. The evening was transformative. For the first time, Margot found herself in conversation with people who understood the complex interplay of identity and presentation from the inside. They shared stories, resources, warnings about which spaces were welcoming and which were not. How long have you been out? Asked Elena, a trans woman with a gentle smile and piercing insight. I'm not sure I am out, Margot admitted. This is all very new for me, being Margot anywhere but alone in my apartment. Elena nodded. We all start somewhere. For what it's worth, you seem very comfortable in your skin. The observation lingered with Margot long after the evening ended. Comfortable in her skin. Was that true? The question prompted deeper reflection than she had allowed herself previously. I think I need to figure some things out, she told Ryan as he walked her back to her car. He nodded. That makes sense. Just know you don't have to figure it out alone anymore. The journey of self-discovery that followed was neither straightforward nor easy. There were setbacks, a colleague from work spotting Margot in a department store, leading to a panicked retreat, the auburn wig getting damaged and needing replacement, creating a week of disruption to her emerging routine, moments of doubt that sent her into isolation once more. But there were triumphs, too. The first time she went to a restaurant alone as Margot, ordering with confidence and enjoying a meal without constant fear of discovery. The day she found an online community of people with similar experiences, where she could ask questions and share insights. The gradual expansion of her wardrobe from hidden items in the back of a closet to a full drawer, then two, dedicated to Margot's clothing. Through it all, Ryan remained a constant, neither pushing nor pulling back, simply present and accepting. Their friendship deepened into something neither had experienced before, a connection forged in vulnerability and strengthened by mutual respect. 3 months after that fateful night at the bar, Margot made a decision that had been forming gradually in her mind. "I want to live as Margot full-time," she told Ryan over dinner at his apartment. "Not just weekends or evenings. All the time." Ryan set down his fork, giving the statement the attention it deserved. "That's a big step." "The biggest." Margot took a deep breath. "I've been talking with Elena about her transition. She's helped me understand that what I'm feeling goes beyond cross-dressing. This isn't just about the clothes or the presentation. It's about who I am, fundamentally." "Have you thought about what this means practically? Your job, your family, your legal identity?" "Every day for the past month." Margot's voice was steady. "It won't be easy. I might lose my job, though the company does have anti-discrimination policies. My parents..." She faltered for the first time. "That will be the hardest part." Ryan reached across the table, covering her hand with his. "Whatever happens, you won't face it alone." The process began slowly. First came extended periods living as Margot, a long weekend, then a full week during a vacation from work. The auburn wig, once a temporary transformation, became such a constant presence that Margot began researching more permanent solutions, hair growth, styling options that would let her brown hair become naturally feminine without the wig. Conversations with human resources at her company were approached with careful preparation. The company's policies were supportive in writing, but Margot knew that reality might differ from policy. To her relief, the HR representative was both professional and compassionate, outlining a transition plan that would allow her to continue her work while gradually shifting her professional identity. "We'll need to update your email, your name in the system, inform your team," the representative explained. "We can do this at whatever pace feels comfortable for you." The most difficult conversation, with her parents, was postponed repeatedly until Ryan finally said, gently but firmly, "You can't move forward while looking over your shoulder. Whatever their reaction, you need to know it to plan your next steps." He was right, of course. The call was made, a dinner arranged. Margot decided to attend as Matthias one final time, a courtesy to her parents, a chance to explain before presenting herself fully as the woman she now knew herself to be. The dinner was as difficult as expected. Her mother cried. Her father asked pointed, sometimes painful questions. There was confusion, hurt, a sense of loss that Margot understood but couldn't alleviate except through time. "I'm still your child," she told them as the painful evening drew to a close. "That hasn't changed. What's changing is how I express who I've always been." They didn't understand, not fully, but they didn't reject her either. It was a beginning, tenuous but real. The day Margot walked into her office as herself for the first time marked a threshold crossed. The auburn hair, now her own, grown out and professionally styled into soft waves that framed her face, drew compliments. Her outfit, a navy blue dress with a cardigan and sensible heels, was professional and understated. The makeup was subtle, designed to enhance rather than transform. There were awkward moments, of course. Colleagues who used the wrong name or pronoun, questions that crossed boundaries of privacy, a few uncomfortable silences in the break room. But there was support too. From her manager, from several coworkers who made a point of treating her exactly as they always had, from the IT department that expedited her email change. "How does it feel?" Ryan asked when they met for dinner that evening, Margot still in her work clothes, though she'd exchanged the heels for comfortable flats. She considered the question, turning her water glass slowly. "Like exhaling after holding my breath for years." The months that followed brought their own challenges and triumphs. Hormone therapy created physical changes that aligned her body more closely with her identity. Legal name changes required navigating bureaucracy and paperwork. Family gatherings became exercises in patience and education. But through it all, there was a steadiness to Margot that had never been present in Matthias, a centeredness, a comfort in her own skin that affected everything from her posture to her laugh. "You seem happy," Ryan observed on the anniversary of their chance meeting at the bar. They had returned to the same establishment, Margot wearing a different red dress, more elegant than flashy, paired with sensible heels and subtle jewelry. Her brown hair was styled in loose waves that caught the light when she moved. "I am," she said, and the simple truth of it filled her with wonder. "For the first time, I'm not divided against myself." Ryan raised his glass. "To wholeness, then. And to unexpected meetings that change everything." Their glasses clinked together, the sound almost lost in the Friday night noise of the bar. Around them, people laughed and flirted and celebrated the end of the work week, unaware of the quiet revolution being commemorated in their midst. Margot looked around the room, remembering the fear that had filled her a year ago in this same space, the terror of being seen, of being recognized. Now, being seen was no longer a threat, but a validation. Being recognized meant being known as she truly was. "You know," she said, turning back to Ryan, "that night, when you recognized me, I thought my world was ending." He smiled. "And instead?" "Instead, it was just beginning." She reached across the table, squeezing his hand. "Thank you for that. For seeing me when I was still afraid to see myself." The night stretched ahead of them, filled with conversation and laughter and the comfortable rhythm they had developed over the past year. Outside, the city continued its perpetual motion. Inside, in a corner of a downtown bar, two friends celebrated a journey neither could have anticipated, from secret to truth, from isolation to connection, from fear to joy. For Margot, dressed in red with her brown hair catching the light, it was more than an anniversary. It was a rebirth, a recognition of the woman she had always been beneath the careful disguises and compartmentalized existence. The woman who now lived fully in the world, seen and known, and finally, at peace.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!